Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. In this episode, we're going to touch on Twilight Axis. So this is an animation that is part of the UC timeline and even has some pivotal plot elements, I think, that cover UC. And I want to dive into it a little bit to see if it sort of makes sense with what we know. And actually, I think this is fantastic. There's only one real issue I have with it, and I'll get to that here shortly. But if you haven't, please subscribe, and if you like this video as you're watching it, please give it a like. And check the links in the description for the Patreon, the Discord, which is really awesome. But yeah, let's get started. All right, so Mobile Suit Gundam Twilight Axis. Some say this is made just to sell some plastic, and well, maybe that is the case, but it's still really cool. So there's a downside to this, right? And, you know, it's very interesting getting into this. Discovering Twilight Axis is finding out that while it does have a number of episodes, they're all just minutes long. They're very short. These are very short episodes, so you can really take this all in very quickly. It's just that if you were to buy the Blu-ray online, it's near $100. So it's very interesting how this is or is not available easily for people that want to get into it. But hopefully, maybe I can share some information. Yeah, it was shown to members of a Gundam fan club from June 23rd to December 1st, 2017. So 2017 is when this came out, after Unicorn, before Narrative, because the main thing here is this takes place after Unicorn. And because the story is quick, I'll get into that here. In late UC 0096, the Earth Federation government, regarding the existence of the Psycho Frame as a threat, organizes the Mastema Special Forces team under the command of Lieutenant J.G. Mehmet Merka, a member of its intelligence bureau. The team is ordered to enter and investigate part of the shattered asteroid Axis, which is drifting in the Earth sphere. The investigative team accompanying Mehmet, yeah, I'm going to have to work on that, includes two civilians named Arlette Almage and Danton Highleg, who were formerly an engineer and test pilot with the Principality of Zeon and Neo Zeon. Okay, so we're introduced to some Zeon remnants, if you will, but what's interesting is because of when this takes place, this is when Zeon is largely, in terms of the military force, disintegrated. We have maybe splinter factions out there trying to hold on. We've got Mars Zeon, but in terms of the Earth sphere, I guess, yeah, Zeon is really just not as prevalent. And, another thing too is we're seeing kind of this new type cleanup job that's going on in late UC. Not only are they wanting to lock up the Unicorn models, the RXOs, they're also wanting to, look up where any Psycho Frames might still be out there. Of course, they talk about the Axis asteroid. So after Char's counterattack, whatever happened to the new Gundam, the Sazabi, they kind of go there to investigate that. And then really the idea is the Earth government is trying to lock down in any use of any of these sort of technologies that enhance. While investigating a supposedly unoccupied facility within Axis, Mastema comes under attack from a new model of Gundam that belongs to a private militia called Burnham. Arlette and Danton fight back using a red Zachary 3 Custom, a mobile suit they once helped develop. As the fighting escalates, Arlette, following a secret agenda of her own, makes her way to the wreckage of the Sazabi that lies abandoned on the surface of Axis. So it's interesting that within the Earth Federation, we have, I guess, these two forces that are trying to get at whatever's been left on Axis, and they will even fight each other for it, even though it's Earth Federation. So there could be just some motivations underneath that. Yeah, it's very interesting. So we have, again, the Mastema Special Forces from the Earth Sphere, Earth Federation, there to collect what they can. They're involving some of the Zeon remnants for that. And then we have Burnham, which is a part of the Earth Federation in ways, its own company doing development, and that's where they develop the Gundam we're about to see. But it seems that they enter and fight against the Mastema Special Forces, but you'll see when watching Twilight Axis, it's like there seemed to be some conflict, but then they realized, well, we don't need to have conflict, but it just carries out anyway. Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. Anyway, the look at the main characters, we have Arlette Almage. What's very interesting about this character is it's another younger lady used for her abilities. And even she saw Char as a father figure. Now, we never saw this character in the previous UC Gundam, but with all the experiments that were going on, we see how he was with Lala and other like quests afterwards. With all the mobile suit mechanics going on, it's not hard to believe that there would be this other, I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily a cyber new type, could be, but a new type who is being used for her powers under Char's wing. That's kind of the thing he does. Okay, so then we have this character named Danton Highleg, and he seems to be very cool. So Danton Highleg was a mobile suit test pilot in charge of data collection in the Principality of Zeon and Neo Zeon. So you'd think, okay, data collection. We've heard that the Sinanju possibly got some of its data from the Sazabi. So does that mean he was out there and got the data, and that's why he's being called back to do that? Although an exceptional pilot, he remained a test pilot and was never deployed in combat due to being unwilling to take a life. So he was with the Principality of Zeon. He wasn't willing to take a life, but he was a badass in a mobile suit. After the end of the Second Neo-Zeon War, he hid his identity and moved to Side 6 with Arlet Almage. So after that Second Neo-Zeon War, moving over to Side 6 to kind of lay hidden. But he wasn't hidden for long, as his expertise was needed for this kind of reconnaissance mission heading back to Axis. So following the events of Laplace's box, so that's from Unicorn, in late UC-96, Danton and Arlet Almage are among the investigative team accompanying the Earth Federation's Mostama Special Forces team. On a mission to investigate Axis, which is drifting in the Earth sphere, the team is attacked by the RX-78AN-01 Gundam AN-01 Tristan and Burnham forces. To fight back, Danton pilots the abandoned mobile suits of Axis, including a AMX-011S Aku 3 Custom and AMX-104R Jarja, which we'll look at here shortly. And I also want to add that there's a full soundtrack for this, even though it's very short little episodes, but it's very cool that a soundtrack exists. This really further cements this as a pivotal story that's part of the UC timeline. So here's the AMX-104R Jarja. So it's a prototype mobile suit built by Neo Zeon, and it appears in Double Zeta, piloted by Charasun. So then we get to see it, I guess, reused, because, you know, in Double Zeta, there's a lot of suits we don't see later. But I guess, yeah, this was used again and used with this paint scheme. Looks really cool. And, of course, there's a model kit for this. You know, this is one of the first links I just found. It could be cheaper elsewhere, but very cool. I mean, this is a cool looking one. It has the vibes of, like, it's funny because it's the Arjarja, but it has the color of the Q-Blade, and from where it came from, that makes sense. So very cool. This is just an under-discussed mobile suit, especially this variant from Twilight Axis. Yeah, again, this kind of leads to when people say Twilight Axis was made to sell some Gunpla, but I mean, that's what they do with everything anyway. I mean, look at the prologue for Witch from Mercury. All those mobile suits are already available for pre-order. Okay, and so the main Gundam here, is this Tristan. So it's really cool when we see a new Gundam. And I got to say, I like this design. This is a Gundam that I don't have any model kit for. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Alex here, even maybe some of the GP project here from 0083, but I'm really getting the Alex vibes, and really from the name of it having that N in it, an AN, you know, I'm assuming that's obviously having to do with new types. And it says this unit is based on the RX-78NT1 Gundam Alex. How the Alex was obtained and details of Tristan's development as well as its manufacturer remain undisclosed. So that's very interesting. However, there is a rumor that after the 1-year war, the damaged Alex was sent to a research facility operated by the Earth Federation forces and subsequently transferred to the Butch Junk Inc. So I guess that gives more history about the Alex. Now, what's really cool is, I guess according to the manga, in 0084, the Alex was repaired at the Augusta Research Institute and refurbished by the Strategy and Tactics Research Institute, SNRI. They're the ones that built the F-91. So we're kind of seeing how, as this gets later in the timeline, still evolving Gundam, still evolving parts of the Alex, which is pretty incredible if you think of the timeline of the Alex. And we're starting to see SNRI come into play. So this is a lot of connective tissue within the UC timeline. And you know what? That Butch name sounded familiar. Butch Concern is a conglomerate that we've heard of before, and they're part of Anaheim Electronics. So the more and more I'm diving into development of mobile suits, almost like we saw in my previous video about the first mobile suit for the Principality of Xeon, it's within the main companies like Xeonic, Anaheim Electronics, that there happen to be these subcontractors that I guess are getting the resources they need from Anaheim. Anaheim then takes whatever data they've been able to put together. Okay, the Tristan was piloted by Cyber New Type Quentin Fermo, who was ordered to infiltrate the remains of the asteroid base Axis and later battled the Earth Federation Forces team Mastema. So it's interesting that this conflict is between Earth Federation forces. And real quick, here is a look at the high grade Tristan. Doesn't seem to be too expensive if you wanted to go and grab it. I think I definitely want to get it. Again, I love it. I love the Alex look, but I also love that sort of Mark II backpack with the beam sabers going on there. I think this is just a cool design in general, because it takes a lot of that classic look, updates it by using updates we've seen in previous UC Gundam. So yeah, very cool. Okay, Quentin Fermo. So the pilot of the Tristan is very cool, seeing that kind of single little antenna coming out. You know, kind of looking like Char, but not. He also has kind of that menacing look to him. So there's a lot of remnants of Char here. And so I think really the idea is, you know, the Gundam is with the bad guys this time, even though we're talking about within the Earth Federation forces, even though who they're fighting against was with Xeon. So it's a very interesting, dynamic kind of conflict that's occurring. Quentin was sent to investigate the inside of Axis after the events of Laplace. He meets the FF Mastema and fights with former Xeon test pilot Danton Heilig and his Zaku 3 Custom. He retreats after this unexpected fight and returns later with the Kerwenal, which we'll get to in a second, to fight and defeat Arlet Almaj's Ahava Aziru. He then fights and critically damages Danton's Arjarja, but decides not to kill him after finding out that his companion Arlet was just an experimented new type, just like him. So, you know, very cool to kind of see that kind of level of character development in here, because already these forces shouldn't be fighting each other because they're technically on the same team. It just seems like there's subgroups of the Earth Federation, whether that's the military or subcontractors or developers that are trying to get this data, so they're willing to even fight each other, and they shouldn't be. But also it's cool of that kind of humanity element of understanding that they were just like kind of thrown into this and nothing they wanted to really get involved into. So it's interesting. Okay, another cool mobile suit in this is the RGM-89 Jagan, which we all like, but the Burnham type, and it has that purple look to it. So a lot of those, the mobile suits, I guess, in Twilight Axis in the first place have some unique color to them, and we do see that with the Jagan here, and it's not too far off really to have these different colors. Double Zeta really expanded that, what the development teams would do, and we see within these subcontractors within these development teams that they kind of add their own touch to a lot of the suits. And of course it has its own Gunpla. You know, just looking at it, you know, Jagan, where this is in the timeline, we get to F91, starting to see some similar things, almost like the gun polearm, or however you would call that. It's something very similar to Crossbone. Yeah, and look at the head there. It has that little eyepiece over it. This is pretty sick. This is something I definitely want to get at. 77, 57, kind of on the higher end, but yeah, they are cool. Okay, another sick one is this AMX 011S Zaku 3 Custom, also known as Zaku 3 Kai. I mean, look, the Zaku's awesome. Zaku 2 is awesome. We get to Zaku 3. What do we expect? And this thing is a beast. You know, and even if you look at the development timeline of when it, let's see, does it say when this was made? First seen in 88, last seen in 96. We see a Messer not too long afterwards, and the Messer looks very similar, very chunky. And yeah, here's the model kit. Oh, that's a little pricey. Would love to get my hands on this. You know, the artwork that we saw previously makes it look a little cooler and thicker. It's a little thinner here. The head's a little bigger proportion to the rest of the body. It's a kind of a different look, but it's still, I mean, it's still cool. It's a Zaku. It's a Zaku 3. And another one that I really like is this Varlant Isolde. Now, what's really cool about this is the fact that it takes the Varlant, but not the custom that we're used to in Unicorn, but from the previous version where it has the hands that have the smaller claws on it, and you know how the feet look and everything. So, and it could be that it's also taking some design elements and putting them together. Okay, and so yeah, here it's saying that it retains the 3-finger claw arms of the original Varlant, but it has the 2 new back-mounted propeller tank thrusters that we see from the custom in Unicorn. So it is kind of a mix of both, which is very cool. All right, and here is the model kit. Pretty pricey. Again, these seem to be pricey, but it looks sick. Would love to have something like this. I mean, I think all of the mobile suits that came out of Twilight Axis are pretty awesome. I could see where they wanted to create model kits for people, and they're like, well, let's put a show around it. Or is it, let's make a show and make up some model kits? Either way, it's worth it because the model kits are sick, the animation is sick. Okay, but then it gets interesting. So as they leave Axis, we then come across some badass mobile armor. So look at this. The Tristan is that little mobile suit in here, and this is its mobile armor. This is awesome. This is something that's not talked about too much, but there was a cool battle of mobile armors. We'll get to the other one here shortly. But this is the RX-78KU-01 Kirwinal. Man, not much information on it, which is very interesting. Yeah, again, this is 2017. They probably haven't really expanded the lore too much, but we can see, you know, a lot of the weaponry it has. It has a lot of the good projectile weaponry, but it also has the claw stuff that you'd expect from a mobile armor. But what's even cooler is this AMA X4 Ahava Aziru. Now, obviously, this could be, you know, the evolution of the Alpha Aziru and others that we've seen from 0083, Double Zeta, you know, as it moves forward, even some stuff from Char's Counterattack. But what's cool about this mobile armor, if they're keeping in line with the typical design of the mobile armor, and when this takes place, this is around the Sazabi development time and Sinanju. And so when you look at it, it does have kind of that look. Wow, here's it with like a little dragon tail on it, kind of like Epion. That's pretty cool. But take a look at this. This is a sick mobile armor. Again, it has kind of that Sazabi, Sinanju look, you know, because the mobile armors and how they evolved once we get to this point. And no model kit for this or the Tristan mobile armor. I mean, they're gigantic anyway. But yeah, it would be cool if we got some model kits or something from these. All right, shown here real quick is, you know, Arlette got to the Sazabi and she got the piece of the Psycho Frame. So it's that T. So that T that we see like in CCA, it has come back, the floating T. And it is a character in itself now, but so it's cool. Again, more connective tissue. So it kind of makes it hard to determine exactly what the intent, what was going on, and what the outcome was. It was where the Earth Federation wanted to investigate Axis, but it seemed there was kind of two approaches to it. One was to investigate it in general, and one was to get remnants of the Psycho Frames to maybe destroy it. One of them could want to take it back and use it, but there's a little bit of conflict that goes on, even though both are really from the same factions, even though previously they weren't. But again, as the fight ensues and they kind of realize what's going on, that's where it kind of minimizes the death in here for that. So it's a very interesting story. And if there are any components I got that wrong, please let me know. But that's kind of what I got from it. And another thing to take away from when watching this is they do brand new animations of Char and Lala Soon, because the main Arlette character, when she's younger, during, you know, the events of 0079, she's there and you're seeing what she's witnessing, because to her it's a big deal coming across this Sazabi. So anyway, that was a look at Twilight Axis, the mobile suits that come from it, and a little bit of the story too, because it's very interesting. There's a novel and manga adaptation, so those would be worth it. But it would seem neat if they were to develop this into maybe at least a movie. Take you know, the episodes they have already, add more to it, kind of flesh out the characters and the battles, have a little bit more, but it's still worth checking out. It's worth checking out. Is it worth buying the Blu-ray for like $100? I don't know. this is easy to come across to watch online if needed, so I can give you that much. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give this video a like if you thought it was pretty cool, and check the links in the description for the Discord. The Discord's awesome. We are always talking about crazy stuff there. And then there's a Patreon where we have movie nights. Next one up is F91. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.